Welcome to this special edition of Relics of Ore. We had some issues last Tuesday, and so we are going to be moving on to show 10 within less than a week. Plus, there was a huge blog post, and people are retweeting us. Yes! There was a huge blog post today from Colin Johanson that is going to give us some pretty awesome information, or at least interesting and definitely worthy of talking about information about where Guild Wars 2 is going in the next 6 months or so, or at least through the end of 2013. Today, I am joined by the inimitable Evee. How are you doing today, Evee?
I am both good and bad today.
Aw, poor Evee. Well, we'll find out why probably here pretty soon.
Oh, yes, you will.
We also have a new host who is from Relics of Ore and another awesome necromancer, Trivierre. How are you doing, Triv?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Good to have you on the show. So let's get right into it. Evee, earlier this week, which we were going to talk about on Tuesday before the internet, or actually the server I was connected to, decided to just dump all of our packets onto the internet and not deliver them anywhere. We were going to talk about what was coming up with, or what Colin Johanson and Martin Kirstein talked about in a video, sort of video stream, a live stream about where Guild Wars 2 is going. So let's get right into that. And one of the first things that they talked about is one thing that they talked about during it was returning content. What sort of returning content are we going to be seeing? Actually, we already talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah. Whatever, we'll touch on it again.
Yeah, sounds
so
good.
A lot of people have been like, so you made these awesome dungeons, but we can't play them anymore. So they're just like, we'll bring them in as fractals. So expect a return of the Molten Facility and Aetherblade Retreat.
Yes. As well as, apparently, while the Zephyr Sanctum is temporary content, apparently they're going to be able to put that back in whenever they want. And it's not a holiday event, so it's not going to be like once a month or once every, year. They could pop in, 3 times in a year, 4 times in a year, pretty much whenever they want to, or whenever they want to actually trade, which I think could introduce some interesting randomness to the yearly cycle of events.
I think it'll be really interesting to see if anything's going to trigger the Zephyr return, or if it'll just be seemingly random. I'm very interested to see if that'll be updated or not.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see if it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to those sorts of returning things, even though it's a little bit sad that we won't be able to hang out there. How about you, Evee?
I'd like to see it be a little more story driven than just, oh, we're here because we're here. Like, we're starting to fight Kralkatorg, and because the Zephyrites are so tied in with Glint, they're just like, hey, what's up?
That's true, and they would definitely probably be some of the leaders in the Kralkatorg fight, as they and Glint are best buds, or were best buds. Sort of. Which, interesting side note, do you know that the crystals that you use to run around in the Zephyr Sanctum are actually pieces of Glint?
What?
I heard about that. It's really awesome because I'm a Glint nerd. I was so proud of myself for being able to defeat Glint, actually, in the first game. That was
nice.
Fun.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that they were pieces of Glint? Triv, it sounds like you did.
I did. I was told about it. I forgot by who, but yeah.
So where exactly did they get these pieces of Glint?
That is a very good question. I want to know so I can go try to defeat Undead Glint or something again in Guild Wars 2.
Okay, so Evee, did you read the? It was actually we learned about it in the in a blog post where they discussed that.
That explains why.
It wasn't in game.
I don't know, because if it's not in game and it's story related,
essentially,
I usually don't know.
As soon as they heard about Divinity's Reach as soon as they heard about Destiny's Edge and then the death of Glint, they immediately went to where Glint was to recover her remains. And once they got there, they found the remains of Glint. They gathered them all up together and took them away. to protect them. There's also a high probability that the baby that you protect at the end of Guild Wars 2, which I may have mentioned this last episode, but the baby dragon you protect at the end of Guild Wars 2 is in fact in the Zephyr Sanctum.
That would make sense.
And
That
so,
I could see it would not bother me. But the little crystals being pieces of glint, and we're
Yeah.
using them to, like,
jump really
get
high.
ability is just like,
There's some definite drug reference there. Just what you do is you get out a nice mirror that the Zephyrites have, and you just sort of chop it up, and then, or not. Hopefully, we're not snorting glint.
Oh.
They have also discussed beyond returning content how they're going to be rolling out new content, and they had a quick mention about what they were doing with expansions, or not, as it is. Evee, what they have to say about the expansions?
Maybe.
That's a good summary. Triv, would you like them to do more expansions, or are you actually pretty content with, what do you think of expansions versus the current content that they're rolling out?
As somebody who has played way too many games, I have to say I do enjoy fresh and new content. I think giving players something that's more permanent would be nice, but at the same time, they can also do that without a straight-up expansion. You know, they can do it with a living story as long as... Let's put an example. With the new achievement system, they added the Zephyrite weapons. They could do stuff like that would kind of add that new expansion feel without actually being an expansion.
That's true. And especially if they start building towards things like fighting Kralkatork and that sort of thing through living story. And we're actually...
Even though we're not seeing a dragon this year.
Well, yeah, but that's 5 months, so maybe in 6 months we won't see a dragon in 6 months.
They specifically said this year, January 1st, Kralkatork just like burst in lines. I was like, what's up?
What's up, people? Filtered for the internet. Oh.
I literally had to stop myself there.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of myself.
Everyone, let's applaud Evee really quick. Yay, Evee!
Yay!
Or at least the Shatner might show up and drop down into. I mean, they have already animated the Shatner in Lion's Arch, so who knows? And everyone will be like, "Oh, they're starting the Dragon Bash again! Look, that is really an amazing oh crap!" And then like 30,000 people die because they're waiting to see the fireworks show.
And then zombies, right? Do we get zombies? That'd be cool.
No, we've already killed.
Crystal zombies.
Yeah, we would be getting crystal
Exactly.
zombies because we wouldn't, because
Hey, I don't
Zaitan
discriminate.
has been defeated. Oh, okay. That's good to know. So one of the things that
Purple zombies are still zombies too.
Right.
Oh, so they're still worth killing.
Exactly. As long as they give me loot. I mean, that's the gamer side of me.
Did you know that Skrit King is running for the council seat? He has promised a large number of shinies to anyone who votes for him.
So is Cormier and Zamoros.
When did Cormier pull in? I thought Cormier was actually supporting her Heron last time I checked. Oh man, she must have gotten...
And the Quaggan Pirate.
I know,
Can't think of the Quaggan
Suwash.
Pirate.
Actually, Relics of War has sent a embedded journalist over to the Suwash's area to interview him and sort of see how he lives and whether or not he actually could qualify as a captain. So hopefully we'll have a blog post from her fairly soon. We'll keep you guys updated on that as well. There's quite a few things, wonderfully hilarious things going on with the election right now, and quite a few grassroots efforts, which I don't think we'll actually be able to get on the ballot, but hey, you know what?
Farron for council.
He actually declined, by the way. Like, officially declined. He came out on Twitter and said, you know what, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that I don't want to prevent the women of Tyria from having access to me, which would be limited if I would spend all my time on the council and, captaining a ship. So he decided to do the women of Tyria a favor and not run, apparently. At least that's what he said. Personally, I think that his popularity is still in the dumps after the whole Fancy Cat Festival affair.
And the riots of divinities rage.
Yeah.
That was
I
sick.
don't think it would end well. What do you think, Triv?
I honestly was sort of spacing out, so you shouldn't ask me anything at this very moment.
It's like, I don't know what's going on.
I was looking at my video and wondering why it was so blurry. I couldn't help it. I was like, wait.
Yes, you are a little bit blurry, but that's okay. That's because you have a $2. Well, actually, it's not $2.
Well, it's not. It's really not. It's okay. I look better when I'm blurry. Better for everyone.
Harsh. Wow.
I know.
It's okay. You don't look better when you're blurry. If you get on the show a lot more, we'll convince you to buy a new camera.
Okay.
Moving on from expansions, though, to something that we can all talk about. They've talked about what they're willing to put in the living story, which includes things like new races, new weapons, new professions, and that. What do you guys think about that? Actually putting those in through living story. How do you think they'd roll that out?
Tengu.
Well, you see, that's what I was thinking, the Tengu, because I know there's an area in Lion's Arch, and it has Tengu guarding it, and they're like, hey, there's a zone line that's obviously here, and no can pass. And so I'm thinking, if they just open up that area, they can introduce Tengu. And obviously there has to be story to go with it, but I am not going to pretend like I know anything about them, aside from their awesome names.
So do you think that it would be a free content patch, or do you think we'd actually have to pay to unlock Tengu? Or have they said anything about that?
I think they're making a lot of money off of the gem store, and I don't think they're going to focus on forcing people to pay for something as game changing, I guess you could say, as a new race. But that's just my personal speculation.
Evie, what do you think?
Well, I'm on the fence about it. Because on one hand, that's ultimately a cosmetic thing. Except for like the first 30 levels of the personal story. Maybe. But you can experience that by going in with someone else that is of that race. So, new profession, I'd be like, yeah, they no charge for new profession. New race, why not?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure how they'd go about it. I mean, they do make a lot of money off of those boxes. Not gonna lie.
Well, this Living Story update didn't have any boxes.
It sort of did. You could buy those little kite things, but they really weren't. I mean, they're also available for dropping pretty regularly in the world. It's kind of an interesting choice. I wonder how much money they're actually making.
I don't know, you would think they would make more money if they gave a new race, because then if you think about all the armor and skins and that possibility via the gem store, if they gave the race for free, then they would also unlock the possibility to have all those skins to be purchased.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Wait, what?
It makes sense to me. I'm done. I'm listening. Continue, guys.
Sorry, I got distracted by chat for a second because there's someone from Dragon Season in chat, and they were like, and I was talking at them.
It's
Evie,
okay.
you gotta back me up here. I'm so pro.
They're the ones that off-rail us every single show.
They are.
Single show.
We love you guys at Dragon Season. All right, let's see. So yeah, so we talked about what the interesting thing that they have said is that there is an overarching story, and this is where we can put on our tinfoil hats if we have them, and by we I mean I, and we can guess at what the story is building up to. So they've said that all of the story content that they've done recently, I'm not sure if the early stuff is included as well, has been building towards a single conclusion. What do you think they're doing, Triv?
So, again, I was distracted with chatting this time, and that's because you made me think about the chatting. So get started, and then I will comment, okay?
All right, Evie, what do you think? What do you think is going on with the story? I mean, there's a lot of different hints and stuff.
Well, this goes back to the whole, we're not going to see a dragon till the end of the year. The thing is, they did mention that there's this, like, big ribbon wrapping around everything. And this big ribbon, at least for the pattern I'm seeing, is that the biggest connection is the Crystal Desert.
That's true. That is true. The Crystal Desert does seem to come up oddly often.
Yeah. I mean, the only exception being Flame and Frost, but that was...
There is
everything but the dungeon happened.
Yeah. There is one slight disadvantage of them going with the Crystal Desert. Once we clear the Crystal Desert and kill Kralk, what do we get to fight next?
Primordius?
No. What's beyond Kralkatorrik? Who would we allow access to our country? Yeah, we kill Kralkatorrik, Pawalo Joko can now march north. What do you think, Triv? Do you think that we might be heading to kill Kralkatorrik at some point in the near future?
I think a lot of us internet peoples would love to kill as many dragons as possible, but maybe that's just the impression I got from the whole World of Warcraft thing. But on the same note, some of us are tired of dragons. I, for one, would love to kill a legion of undead things. And plus, Palawajoko, come on. We love him. He's awesome.
It's true. I mean, think of the monologue potential. Yeah, Evee.
Wait. We kill Kralkatorrik, and Palawajoko helps us kill Primordius and Jormag.
What do you think about that, Triv? You think that could happen?
I don't know, but for some reason, whenever Evie mentioned that, the first thing I thought of was, Palawajoko raises undead, right? What if we kill the dragons and then we kill them again when they're zombie dragons?
Oh man, so Pawalo Joko works with us, makes some side deals with the Inquest to learn about dragon magic, and then raises them back from the dead, and the final boss after killing 6 dragons is Pawalo Joko and 6 dragons.
That would be amazing if they could pull it off. But, they could also just introduce somebody new altogether. This is 200 years later, after all. They don't have to hail completely to Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, but Pawalo Joko's
in the lore for Guild Wars 2.
He's one of the most compelling villains they've had as well. Just because he's hilarious and yet utterly dangerous. Which is always a fantastic combination.
It's so important. Please get the same voice actor.
To be honest, if they're making as much money off of the show as they are, or off of the game as they are, maybe they could afford actually to get Christopher Walken rather than someone else pretending to be Christopher Walken.
Yeah, but would Christopher Walken be able to do that?
That's true. No, he probably would just phone it in because he's like, "This is a video game. I can't even do his voice. He's a professional though." So, yes, they should get the same voice actor because that would be amazing. I approve. So there we go. You heard it here at Relics of War first. The final boss of Guild Wars 2, before we move to Guild Wars 3 Charmageddon, which is a third-person shooter, cover-based shooter, which I've talked about before, is Pawalo Joko.
And 6 dragons.
And 6 dragons. That's amazing. I would play that game.
You are, if they add it to Guild Wars 2.
You can't forget there's going to be some kind of Asian thing in Kanta that's going to be a bad thing. So...
Yeah, that Asian thing. Well, actually, it's going to be 7 dragons because of Kunavang. Plus there's Panda Dragon. Oh my goodness. There's not actually a Panda Dragon. That would be amazing, though. I would fight a Panda Dragon. Would you fight a Panda Dragon, Evee?
I'd kill it. With fire.
That's awful. They're endangered, you know.
Well, so is every Elder Dragon, because there's only 6 of them, and we're still cool with killing them.
That is true.
I would love to see, like, an endangered species group show up in, like, Lion's Arch and be like, "Don't kill any more dragons, there's only 5 left."
And we would say, "Only 5 left, exclusive loot, y'all. Let's kill that."
And as Hunter said, please continue with actual information. Okay. So, personal story. Anet has said things that they do have plans to actually move personal story forward. Really quick speculation on personal story. Evie, go. Where do you think they'll take personal story?
I really have no idea because they pretty much closed it off.
It's true. We killed Zaitan. So do you think that it would not be used to direct us towards killing the next dragon or working with our orders to kill the next dragon?
I mean, they could. I mean, there's a lot of plot points that are not done. It's So, I mean,
Would you
they can
like
make
to
their choices matter.
Would you
for one.
prefer if characters from the personal story came back in the living story, like Lord Farron has with his recent upswing
I'd
in
like to see them
popularity?
in both.
Okay. Personally, I want to see Agent Zuri come back and Codicus's daughter, because those were both hilarious and awesome characters.
Codicus' daughter was amazing.
Yeah, straight up. Triv, what do you think?
I don't know. As far as actual characters coming back, a lot of my favorite ones actually died, namely Tybalt, especially whenever he...
No!
Sorry, spoilers, guys, in case you haven't done the personal story.
Well, we just told him you kill Zaitan, so yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
just
know.
assume that by now, if you haven't killed Zaitan, you know that he dies at some point.
Yes, that's true. Although, I had always assumed from the very beginning, because your whole plot of the first story is to kill the Elder Dragon, you form, you have Fort Trinity, you have your... I guess, triforce of power between all three of the orders. I had assumed that it would go into killing another dragon, because they kind of say, oh, well, this is the beginning of what's to come. We have this superpower going on, and I guess I had assumed from a gamer perspective they would just continue that point of thought.
Yeah, it would make sense to move the personal story forward towards killing the next dragon, or at least, and because moving with the orders. I would like to see more stuff done with the orders, like your character moving up the ranks. Maybe they were like, we kind of promoted you too early, we're gonna demote you really quick, or like you'll do something horrible and fail at something. Follow with me really quick, Evee. You fail at something so horribly that they have to demote you, because they realize they promoted you like after you had been working for them for 2 weeks, and they're like, that's probably not the best strategy. So you fail miserably because you're not experienced enough, and then you come back and you have to work your way up the ranks again. Or Evee?
Or you do something so amazing that they're just like, we cannot continue anymore, so you go do your own thing.
So they put you in charge of it, and you have to basically run the whole thing.
No, you are not in an order anymore.
Oh, they kick you out because you're too awesome. I could see real Darkwater doing that. Spoiler alert. I'm not sure if I could see the Vigil doing that. They just like bro fist you and then say, let's go kill some stuff.
Or maybe the orders might betray each other because they don't really trust each other much from the first place,
But there's not really enmity between them. There's just sort of like general dislike of each other.
It's kind of like how the Char warbands work.
Yeah, I couldn't see them actually like betraying each other. There's no Go ahead,
The
Drew.
one thing sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. The one thing that they have binding them together is actually Triherne, right? So what if something happens to Triherne? Like, wouldn't that dissolve their alliance?
Snap. Or Triherne gets assassinated. Holy smokes, Triherne gets assassinated.
By the player character, because we find out he did something bad.
Or, well, that would actually be amazing, but Triherne gets assassinated by, like, someone. Maybe the player character is there and gets accused of it, and then the other two orders say, oh my goodness, your person killed Triherne. Clearly, you guys are evil and are trying to manipulate the situation. And then you have to actually resolve it, and there's, War of the Orders. There we go.
What if Triherne just goes Nightmare style and you have to kill him because he's evil?
Faolain seduces Triherne and said, wow, we could go so... And as we know, Faolain is down with the whole seduction thing.
Exactly.
I mean, if you played through any of the... played through storyline of that one dungeon. Nightmare
That's very
Court dungeon.
specific.
The Nightmare Court. Twilight something or
Twilight
other.
Arbor.
Twilight Arbor. There's just tons of, like, plant innuendo. Anyways, moving on from plant innuendo. So, we've already talked about the Elder Dragons. Permanent content. So ArenaNet does want to make the story accessible. They haven't really said much about exactly how they're going to be rolling out permanent content for the story to play back, but it could be interesting to see. They also brought up something really fascinating, server divergence of story options. They're currently giving us the choice, and it's going to be across all of the servers, who takes over in the who takes over for the council seat. but that's going to be something that they're going to get the metric across to all the servers and then say this person won, this person lost. They are thinking
do different between servers though without like drastically changing the story though.
That's the thing, is Colin Johanson said that is what would happen. You would see radical alternate universes crop up. Obviously, they couldn't do massive changes over time. I mean, you wouldn't do it every month, but maybe like once a year, so that within 8 years, every single server is at a completely different story. I don't think that you could actually keep that up. You'd have to return everything to a 0 point at some point. Triv, what do you think? Server divergence.
If they were to do that, they would need to, I don't know, I would trying to imagine how that would play out, and they would need some serious, I guess you could say, direction on the ArenaNet side. I don't know if they have that sort of diversity when it comes to story writing or even programming for that many servers.
That's true. I think it would be pretty crazy. The thing is, we do know that there are alternate realities of Tyria. The Steam universe is a good example, and Thermonova Reactor, if we do vote for Keel, I think would illuminate this significantly as to what happened and why there is another universe bleeding in. It's all very sort of fringe-ish.
Well, even World v. World. I mean,
yeah.
Bam, 3 universes right there colliding.
Yeah, I think it would be fascinating to see what happens there. I'd like to see server divergence. I don't think it's technically feasible, but I think it'd be a fascinating idea. Moving on, really. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I could see them doing it for like aesthetic. Like, say, oh hey, you guys did this instead of doing this, so Lion's Arch is gonna be more blue, or something. I don't know.
You guys saved the blue paint, yeah. So the Lion's Arch has more blue paint.
Please stop.
That's actually what I was thinking. Is, you know how everyone in Mass Effect has a different shepherd? Like, my shepherd had, apparently from the Penny Arcade, like if you read the Penny Arcade comic, like Gabe's shepherd had like chicken feet and laser eyes and that sort of thing. And everyone has a different shepherd story, and some people have 3 or 4 different shepherds.
I use Vanilla Shepherd.
You use Vanilla Shepherd?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that he's white or that he's a rapper?
It means he's the guy on the box.
Well, see, but that's just one look. But then your actual story of Shepard is quite different. Like, who Shepard's friends are, who he's in love with, who he's not in love with, who he's killed, who he's let die.
Wishes he'd be in love with but can't be because of game mechanics.
It's okay. Well, not game mechanics, but actual people having well-rounded enough characters that they have personal sexuality. But anyways, that's my argument for it. But it's okay. You'll work through it, Evee. Anyways, moving on. LFG tool is in playtesting, apparently. Yay! Does anyone know anything else about it?
It's not a rumor.
I know that it's definitely needed, and it makes me happy that they're at least working on something that is not a different website that they don't even run.
Yeah, the big thing to take away from this is it's not just going to throw you into a dungeon. They've specifically said you're still going to need to go up to the dungeon, you're still going to need to socialize, and all this whatnot. So it's not going to be, oh hey, hit a button, I'm in a dungeon with 4 other people. It's going to be, you're going to have to like find the right group and go into the right thing. Yeah.
I wonder if it's like that. I wonder if it could also be used to help with, say, mega events and things. If you're playing during weird hours, there isn't anyone around. I wonder if that tool would be able to use for that purpose.
I don't see why not.
I think that it actually can. Maybe? Weren't they suggesting, since it is going to be like that you can just like fill stuff in? Like, isn't it based off of guildwars2lfg.com? That's what I'm assuming. I have no special inside knowledge on this.
I don't think it's based off of Guild Wars 2 LFG. I might be completely wrong. I'd be really surprised if it was, because that seems really
inefficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
it'll be interesting to see. And the question is, do we know if it's cross server or not? Or
I certainly hope so, considering most dungeons are.
yeah, that could be interesting. So it may be easier to find which server is actually open. Like a server could actually just post, our server has X open. And so you don't necessarily join the group, but you can say, oh, these servers, like you could actually do it like, that could be interesting.
And then those events will never get done.
It's true. Because everyone will just guess to that one server. Boom, boom, boom. Server divergence. So it's gonna be interesting to see. They've talked a little bit about that. Let's go into more details actually, because today they released a mondo, just massive blog from Colin Johanson. So we're gonna get right into that then, and by right I mean we've already been talking for a half hour. And talk about specifically Living Story. They have established several times that they are doing the 2-week cycle. It seems like that's not letting up. Is anyone getting content? Do you think people are going to start getting content fatigue?
I think ArenaNet's gonna get content fatigue.
Yeah, no kidding. I just hope that if they are, say, pumping out the content at that rate, I hope that the quality does not go down as a result of that.
Because
Yes.
Zephyr Sanctum was amazing. I mean, yeah. But, like, I wonder what's going to come out next Tuesday. Other than just political things. Well, not
Hopefully
next
more
Tuesday, but the
platforming.
Tuesday after that.
Yes, they need to release Zephyr Sanctum Part 2 of the course.
Well, the Sanctum itself, if you think about it, it is a kite city. It could technically evolve into being different than how it is, based on the location that they stop.
That's a good point. Oh, that's a very good point. So you think that they could actually park in different places? Like, we could actually see the Zephyr Sanctum park in Lion's Arch at the airship location.
I don't see why not.
That would be horrible on load times.
It'd still be kind of cool, though.
It could be fake Lion's Arch, just for the sake of load times. I'm just saying.
For Lion's Arch. Pseudo Lion's Arch?
Yes.
You're welcome, Evee. I enjoy trolling your pronunciation of pseudo. It's a wonderful thing. There's so we've already talked a little bit about what the living storyline, the fact that it's moving to a definite conclusion by the end of the year. Do we have theories? Do we think that there are some theories that Evan Nashblade is in fact the villain that has been behind everything? Do you guys think that that's true, or do you think that it's going to be someone that we're going to be like, oh, it was you?
It's the brat in Zephyr Sanctum.
Oh snap, man, that kid is brilliant. Triv.
I think they like the hint at a lot of things to get people thinking, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to sort of, I guess, for lack of better words, surprise us and just be like, hey, guess what? It was the other guy.
It was Ellen Keel all along, who's been
For all
using.
you know,
Power play.
for
That
all
could-
you know, it's whoever you vote for who wins and gets power. That's the evil person.
Oh snap! We could actually make a self-fulfilling story. Wow, that'd be pretty crazy. It would actually. That'd be actually kind of amazing if ArenaNet was willing to make Ellen Keel evil.
Maybe not evil.
Well,
Just-
like a nemesis, though.
Corrupt.
Just opportunistic.
Yes.
It's true. Man, yeah, wow. I hadn't really thought about that. I think it's gonna be her. I think she's the opportunistic vagabond. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Now, they've mentioned in chat that that some of them have trouble getting all of the achievements. Have you guys, how long does it normally take you guys to get the achievements? Is it a weekend thing, or does it sometimes take longer?
I got basically all of the Zephyr Sanctum achievements except for the puzzle kites and the what's it called? Sprint thingy.
The
Sanctum Sprint
yeah.
on the day of release.
Hmm.
I did
I
like
think
all Belcher's buff, finding the sky crystals, Belcher's buff. What? Yeah. Sky crystals, all that whatnot. Yeah.
I think that it depends on how driven you are toward accomplishing the achievements. I know that I did the Sanctum Sprint, and I didn't do enough Mario Kart as a child because I couldn't stand it, and I'm really bad at it even still. So, I don't know. As for the rest of them, it doesn't seem like they're difficult.
Yeah.
I'll rephrase. I just got on my crystals today, but that's just because I was like, gosh darn it, this will be conquered, and I did it. I'm proud of myself, by the way.
And it has a lot to do, exactly like she said, just, what kind of player you are, how driven you are with this particular content, because people that don't like jumping puzzles are probably like, sky crystals! Sorry, I went up to 11.
So, the interesting thing is, like, it took me about a week and a half to actually get my meta achievement, and I think that's what most people are aiming for, is the actual meta achievement. And as Hunter did point out in channel, and I believe actually Mary Do as well, that it can be rough, especially if you have a full-time job, kids, family, that sort of thing. It can be rough to get the meta achievement. Do you think that they should reduce the meta achievement, or keep that as sort of an elite reward?
Well, considering what the reward for the achievement is, being such a huge... what's the word I'm looking for?
Time gate?
Yeah. That it should be readily available. With that said, I think it is readily available at the point it's at, though some metas in the past were not.
Okay. So you think that this is one of the easier ones. Oddly enough, this meta achievement took me the longest of any of them.
Really?
Yeah. I'm really bad at Sanctum Sprint, I think.
I understand, Shangaku.
You were good once I got in, and you just got first. It was
Well,
like, oh,
yeah. You explained it to me, and then I started watching you and saying, "Oh, okay, I can learn this. I'm not completely mentally disabled." But yeah, no, I don't know. I think mainly is I didn't go around grabbing kites as much, and I still haven't finished my kite achievement. Oh, kite achievement.
That I haven't done either.
I still need to run that. So, I think that's interesting. Do you consider the crystal quartz node, the quartz node in your home instance, part of the personal story?
Well, no, because you get it from doing living story. It's just stuck in your home world because that's the best way for them to make sure that everyone gets their own thing.
That's a good point. Interesting. Excuse me. Moving on to some of the more exciting things, new legendaries are coming before the end of the year, as well as a new way to get precursors. Evee, what's the new way to get precursors?
Crafting. No, I'm not happy.
You're not happy? All right. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to the actual crafting thing. Now they're doing an interesting thing with legendaries though. Stat swapping. We actually talked about this on the show a little while ago. What do you think, Evee?
Why is it tied to legendaries? Why couldn't this just be a thing? Why?
Do you think that they're maybe trial testing it on legendaries? And could roll it out when they're like, wow, this is the coolest convenience option ever.
The thing is, if they put it on legendaries and then they end up putting it on ascended and even exotic gear, then all the people that got legendaries are going to be like, you're just doing this so that all the scrubs can do whatever they want. My achievement doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so what if you give them legendaries and then they get it unlocked on their legendary gear, and then anyone else has to actually unlock the stat set by equipping it?
That could work.
Triv, what do you think?
I actually had this discussion earlier today, and
Fantastic.
I still believe that if they introduce some sort of way that they can incorporate certain stat sets to your character, much like how they had the skills and utility skills, and then had the armor and the equipment be more cosmetic than anything, then I think it would go a lot closer to the Guild Wars 1 philosophy.
Yes. So Evee, if they could do that, would your opinions on Ascended gear change?
What do you mean, what?
Okay, we'll get to that when we get to the crafting and your favorite word, time gating. So, we're going to move really quick on, then. There will be new types of legendary gear. I'm kind of excited. Did they say types? Or did they say new legendary weapons?
They said new legendary weapons.
Yeah,
Okay.
they said new weapons because there are a lot of people that are going, I want a short bow because I can change the stats, but I do not want rainbows.
Rainbows.
I, on the other hand, want rainbows, but I don't have them with unicorns, so it's different for me with the staff.
You and your stupid rainbow necromancer plants of happiness. Ah! Actually, I appreciate that. I think it's hilarious and wonderful. I twittered about this earlier today with AJ Wolf about about how Grenth would be displeased with all the rainbows and happy necromancer plants.
Or would he?
I don't know. Maybe
For all we know, Grenth is a very prideful person.
And he's like, you guys are so cool. And he really likes them.
And just be yourself, because I support that.
That kind of prideful. Okay. That's actually why Grenth overthrew Doom, because Doom would not allow rainbows in the underworld. And now we know.
It has nothing to do with rezzing.
It
It's
has
all
nothing
about
to.
rainbows.
It's all about rainbows. All right, so moving on. Huge change. They're removing Magic Find from gear. Triv, talk to us about this.
They were actually incredibly vague for some things. Let me start from the beginning. The original thing that they said was that Magic Find was a problem, and so their way to fix the problem is to introduce Magic Find in the terms of account-wide stuff, and their way of saying how they're going to fix that is by introducing items that will then be used to increase your Magic Find bonus for your account. Now, this is awesome, in my opinion. However, it's also terrible, because if you're like me and you're a super hardcore farmer and you want to have the sweetest Magic Find percentage possible, I'm a little scared that I'm going to have to go down to, say, right now my account Magic Find is 4%. Even if they boosted it to 20, I would still lose like over 200%. So I'm going to be interested to see how it's going to be implemented.
Do you think that they could be... Actually, I'll ask that when we get to the next section. They have said, yeah, there will be items that will boost your account Magic Find, at least temporarily.
Yes.
Do you think that Omnom Berry bars are going to stay in the game then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I actually think that Omnonberry bars are going to get buffed.
Oh, you think that Omnom Berry bars will become the replacement for a full set of gear?
Not a replacement, but a nice buffer while between the gear being gone and people building up their account Magic Find.
Do you think that they will buff Guild Magic Find? Triv?
I think that all Magic Find bonuses might be buffed, but at the same time, I'm actually not sure, because if they buffed it, they would also have to nerf it later once everybody actually has it on their account.
What if they just increased drop rates across the board, and so that it was equivalent to... Your Magic Find then was equivalent to having full Magic Find stats based on, like... And so you only needed, like, 40% Magic Find to be equivalent to the 150 to 200 that you currently have.
That would be
You
great.
get Magic Find, and you get Magic Find, and you get Magic Find.
That'd
Sorry.
be great,
Magic.
except when you consider that, I don't know, it still boils down to RNG, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, some people will get awesome things with no Magic Find, some people get it with high Magic Find, and I really don't know what kind of impact it will actually have on the game in the long run.
Get a Dragon Jade ticket after opening 10,000 boxes.
Yes.
Which just is...
RNG hates me.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
Which is why I haven't bought anything with Magic Find, because I know better.
Which, speaking of which, they are doing some interesting things with champion mobs, apparently. Now, they've added blue items guaranteed drop, but they're getting rid of that, aren't they? And they are replacing it with something else entirely. What exactly are they doing with champion mobs? Evee?
How do I put this? They're making them worthwhile to not skip.
That's a pretty good way to describe it. So,
Essentially, though, they're upping the rewards you get for champions in terms of better chances at rares. They're adding new loot in general, just to champions.
There's unique champion skins, which I think is fantastic.
Well, they said unique skins, not unique to champion skins.
If they're
saying.
unique, wouldn't that mean that all... I'm saying to the champion drop. I'm not saying that, oh, kill champion troll and you have a chance at this pool of skins. I'm saying if you kill a champion, you have access to a pool of skins that you don't have access otherwise.
No, the way they worded it, it leads to believe they're referring to, at least me, they're referring to the unique skins that already exist.
Really? You don't
Yeah.
think they're going to be making more
Like
skins?
Final Rest, not Meteor, why would I say Meteor?
Meteorologicus?
Alphabet Soup Scepter.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I want Alphabet Soup Scepter to drop. Forget this whole precursor thing. Just give me drop the legendary for me, just straight. Triv, what do you think? I mean, they were able to pump out weapons skins fairly quickly, it seems. At least once, a new set a month. Do you think that they could actually create a unique set of champion skins?
I think it depends on whether or not they just started working on it or if it's been being worked on. I know that they haven't released any extra or unique armor sets, at least, since the game's been released. I know they've released new weapons, but I've always been curious, especially because they want the game to be very similar to Guild Wars 1. I'm curious to see if they're going to introduce any sort of other things to wear, aside from the obvious gloves and shoulders, because that's just easy.
And Guild Wars 1 had a lot of armor sets.
Yes, definitely.
It did, but that was, but it didn't. It didn't really have that. Hell no, it had a lot at launch because there's one for each of the 6 professions. Oh no, there was like 10 for each of the 6 professions at launch. It was crazy.
No, not 10.
There was the 4 really hard to get ones, wasn't there?
The four really hard to get ones were added in an update.
Oh really?
Elite Armor was added
Elite
later
Armor.
when they
Okay.
added what is it called? Star Wars Furnace.
Oh, really? Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I don't
Elite
think.
Armor was not always a thing.
Really? I mean, but they.
I actually remember this vividly because when Elite Armor came out, there was someone in my guild at the time that bought it like immediately and was like, "Oh, my boobs are bigger now." Because she was in the Air Alley and she got the Air Alley set, and her boobs went from C to double D.
There you go. That's how Guild Wars.
$50,000 gets you a boob job in Guild Wars, just like the real world.
And now you know. Oh my goodness.
I don't think the Guild Wars 2 characters need any boob jobs. I'm just saying.
Especially with the amount of physics that they have.
Yeah, no kidding.
It would end poorly. So that, yeah, I'm kind of interested. They're also going to have skill points that drop out of these champion chests, which should be
Which
should be pretty
reminds me
interesting.
of the tomes from hard mode in Guild Wars 1.
And we're going to talk about this a little bit more with the crafting system, but they're adding tier 7 and possibly tier 8 mats. Do you think the champion chest will be containing these new materials?
They said that they would.
Well, there we go.
Well, not in the blog post, but in another interview with another site.
Okay, so that's going to be probably one of our primary ways of actually farming gear. So you'll actually want to do events in ore that have a on-demand champion system, which means that you can more regularly get champions. Or just hope that you find a champion that you can farm. I know
I
an
already know
ogre.
what champion I'm farming.
What champion
There's
are
a
you
troll.
going to farm?
There's a troll on Mount Maelstrom that's on a 1-minute timer that I can blind.
Yeah, they're probably going to
Just
nerf
sit
that.
there and hit 5, sword auto attack. I'm not telling anyone where it is because it's my spot.
All right, good to know. I'm going to get into a party with you at some point and just sort of watch you for hours on end and pretend like I'm offline, and you're going to be like, oh, it's safe to go kill the troll. And
Nope,
then I
I
will
won't.
know. And then I will put a map up on the show, and it'll be like, bam, here, everyone, go kill this troll. Please do it on Northern Shiver Peaks, because we need to troll Evee's troll. Moving on, they are adding new skills and traits. Triv, what sort of reaction do you have to this?
My first thought was actually, oh my gosh, Guild Wars 1. However, I don't know if they're going to implement it in any similar fashion. I just know that I like more skills, because that's one of the things people have been complaining about since the game's been released is, oh yay, it's simpler, but why don't we have options? And I can sort of agree, but at the same time, I mean, we need useful skills, so I'm really hoping that they'll be good.
So you think I'm kind of hoping that they add necromancer minions that are not mentally football helmeted. What do you Triv, for your necro, what kind of skills do you want to see added?
That, honestly, I'm biased because I'm conditions, so I would say as long as I can spread more conditions, that'd be fantastic.
Double epidemic.
I know. Well, actually, in all reality, we need more. I would say we need more AoEs. I know we have Epidemic, but we shouldn't need to depend on one specific skill in order to have area of effect abilities.
So maybe more wells and that sort of thing?
Maybe. I mean, there only are 5 or so wells, and I do feel like there could be a lot more variety in what is available.
I agree with Hunter in chat. Speed utility for mesmers. Just give them a speed signet. I mean, they're OP anyways for mobility. May as well just make them more.
Yes.
Well, we don't know
I don't
if
think
these
that's a
skills are
huge
gonna be
issue.
usable in PvP.
Oh, that's
very
an
true.
interesting
What they
point.
said, we're being. I at least was led to believe that this is going to be PvE specific.
So you think these might be skills that are cross like the classic Guild Wars the classic Guild Wars PvE skills where they're non-profession specific?
Well, not necessarily non-profession specific, just PvE specific.
Interesting.
Like Sunspear skills,
Interesting.
With that said,
Curse skills.
with that said, I really wonder if they're going to be adding more elites as well, because it is technically a skill.
Yes.
Especially for some classes, like I'll just throw one out there. Let's say Guardian. They do have one useful elite, but that's the only useful elite they have. So I wonder if they're going to provide options for people.
There's some very interesting
Give
ideas in
everyone
chat.
time warp. Everyone will be happy.
Totally.
That's mentally no, that would what?
Give everyone time warp. Done.
That's an interesting point that Isith brought up. Skills
Yeah.
based on the order that you're in. That would be interesting.
Yeah, man. They'd have to make there's 8 professions times 3 orders, so they'd have to come up with 24. Yeah.
They've done it before.
24 skills though in one shot. You think they could do
Just
well
like
actually
Hudson.
yeah.
Just-
They
Another set.
Oh. Merryweather is Merrydew is suggesting a TARDIS skill, possibly. Lisa Kins wants 9 million time warps. Personally, I want whatever skill Triherne has to summon 9 flesh golems. Triv?
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
What they could do with the orders is make them functionally the same skill, just thematically and aesthetically different to fit the orders.
That's a good point.
I
Just
want
like the-
rainbows.
It's true. So, okay, and speaking of rainbows, what if they added what if they removed the black effect if you had from, you have the black curling awesomeness for Epidemic Triv? What if they
Yes.
replaced that with the spell effect for your legendary weapon?
They actually do that for a few legendaries. I don't know if you knew that. But
I know, that's why I'm thinking Bifrost and
Yes.
and Epidemic.
Yes, I would love to have a rainbow that explodes conditions, if that's what you're asking. That would be amazing.
I wouldn't get it on
It's like-
Shongoku, but yeah, I wouldn't mind to actually have it like rolling another Necromancer just to
Rainbow
have
Meteor Storm.
rainbow.
I would love to have a rainbow flesh golem that leaves rainbow footsteps.
Yes, that would.
9
Personally-
flesh golems that leave rainbow footsteps.
Oh my goodness! What I want is a
right.
necro-themed weapon that does like shadow trails and things like that, which they really. I mean, I guess technically the greatsword is. So if they give necros greatsword at some point, I can get whatchamacallit, Twilight.
Well, we need to keep going because of something that was said in an article. Concerning what you just said.
All right, so where am I moving to? Okay, dungeon changes really quick.
No, new skills.
New
still.
skills. Oh, we're still on new skills. All right, keep going
Yes. Okay, on the topic of new skills, in an article on MMORPG, they said that they were looking at adding all weapons to all professions. All of them. Thief, greatsword, people. Thief Rifle, Ranger Hammer.
Wait, didn't we do Hammer Rangers at one point in Guild Wars?
Funny thumper.
Weren't those amazing?
They were amazing.
Wow. Necro Hammer, Necro Shield Mace, Necro Shield Mace, Necro Shield Axe, Necro Shield Sword. So, hilarious story. Shongaku, for probably his first 10 levels, ran Sword Shield with three superior runes because I had no idea what I was doing.
I leveled with 2 daggers, but that's also whenever it wasn't very viable as Necro. I had high hopes.
I'm talking about Guild Wars 1.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I don't think
I
you
played
could...
a Mesmer, so I beat the game, basically.
Nice. Oh, Mesmers were...
In Guild Wars 1, I played everything with a longbow until like level 10.
Actually, we all...
Everything.
Rabin and I always brought longbows with us eventually, because that's how you pulled. You just got on a hill and you shot one of the things and hoped that it would, like, leash everything else.
Or not leash everything else, and you just pull them one at a time.
Yes. Man, that would be amazing. It would be weird and fantastic. True. What would you want? What would you think of that?
Of having
Every
what
weapon.
specifically? Every weapon?
Every weapon available.
I'm just wondering what I would have as a Necro with a bow. I just think that would be an interesting combination right there.
Necro.
Vampiric necros with bows.
That's right.
Short bow would be vampiric. Long bow would be a summoning weapon.
I wonder how you'd summon things.
You do have a
You
title.
shoot the ground and it just
You shoot the
pops
ground
up.
and something pops up. Think of it like playing Shaman in Diablo 3.
That is
Or-
interesting. I do think that minion Necros need a lot of love, and that would help, at least.
Yes, shooting out minions. A minion flinger. I approve.
And the auto attack is just like undead rats that you shoot at the person.
Yes. This tied onto a bow. They're like, it's like bone minions, so they fly and they do a little poison cloud explosion.
And they squee the entire way. It's like,
And then you get a longbow that shoots rainbows, and now it's a flying, rainbow trailing, screaming minion.
rainbows.
And then rainbow explosion at the... Oh my goodness, that'd be amazing. Oh, please ArenaNet. I would love to see that. Oh my goodness.
It's gonna be a thing.
Oh my... Oh. There's another thing from that interview where you said that they might actually bring back profession challenges. I'm still just... Rat. That's amazing. What profession challenges? Refresh me on that.
Well, during development of Guild Wars 2, the original idea for skill challenges was actually to have profession-based challenges where you would unlock skills that way. So this might mean the return of that as a concept anyways. Which could be amazing because these would obviously be tailored to your profession. You'd have, like, just as an example, it could be a guardian one to escort some NPCs, and it gives you virtue of patience. And you have to keep the NPCs alive.
That would be such a trolly one, because you get patience at the end, and so you just make it so that most of it is like bunnies hopping in front of their path, and you have to kill like 300 bunnies that are just randomly showing up.
No. You can't attack what attacks the escorts. You just have to buff them.
Oh my goodness. I mean, obviously, wait, you wouldn't have your insta recharge for fire because you wouldn't be hitting anything. That doesn't sound fun, Evee. Actually, it sounds kind of awesome, to be honest.
Patience. I hate guardians.
What do you think of that idea, Triv? Maybe not that
bunnies.
specific idea,
Okay,
but just
here's
the
another
general
one.
idea
For
of
thieves.
skill.
There's a tower with a bunch of scaffolding, with
Okay.
a bunch of traps. Once you get to a certain point where you start this like trek where you have to get to the top of the tower, you actually can't take a step. You have to use shadow steps to get through the entire thing.
I wonder how that would be, I guess you could say, adapted to other classes. I know as somebody who plays a Necro, maybe if they had something that you had to go into your alternate form, maybe if they had it so you had to spectral mode.
Except for the fact that this is a profession-specific challenge.
I know.
Which means a Necro wouldn't even be doing it. It'd just be Thief.
But I was talking about if it were transferred, that same concept were transferred to a different class. I just wondered how they'd do it. For a class that could teleport or shadow step, that's easy. I know what you're saying, and that's kind of cool, but I know that...
Necro, I could think of something off the top of my head. Just have... Okay, there's a bunch of NPC undead. You have to raise these undead using the revive mechanic or whatever, then you have to lead them through the area.
Or they give us and then we never keep going. You're good.
And with this, you're given an urn or something that lets you control these undead as an environmental weapon throughout the entire thing. And you have to use these undead to beat the challenge.
On top of that, there's other undead that come at you, and you have to time your skills on the urn to take control of them. And at the end, Verada's Gaze allows you to take control of undead up to 5 for X amount of time.
There you go.
Please give us Verada's Gaze. It would make us able to troll ore so amazingly.
Verada's Aura.
Oh, Verada's Aura. That's right. That's the better one. Verada's Aura. Did you play Necro in Guild Wars 1, Triv?
I had one, but I wasn't a very good one. I got level 20, but that doesn't really say much. I was a Spite Necro.
Oh, those were cool. Those were fun. I love trolling assassins with that. That is just wonderful.
I never brought her into PvP because I had, like I said, my main was a Mesmer. I was set with PvP.
It's a good point. Alright, moving on. Someone's phone. It's okay. We forgive you, Evee, mostly. They're making some changes to dungeons. Now, I didn't really understand why this is such a significant thing, because I guess because I don't farm dungeons. But Evee, what exactly is this change, and how does it? What's it doing?
COF farming is gonna be gone.
Why? I don't understand.
Yay.
I don't understand why it's going away.
Okay, so here's the thing. They're taking the gold off of the bosses.
Okay. How does that...
The only thing you're going to get from the bosses is the champion rewards that they're adding to all the champions.
Okay.
Instead, they're going to put a... Once you finish the dungeon, you're going to get a more gold, but you can only get that once a day. Per path. All the other rewards will be normal, except for this gold.
So why does that kill COF farming?
Because the way you make money with COF farming is the money you get from doing the bosses. Because they drop like X amount of silver.
So that's why people just
so quickly.
Oh, and that's why they just constantly run path 1. Because they're not there for the tokens.
You can just pop boss after boss after boss after boss. So you end up getting to something gold, I guess, in an hour.
Huh.
I do think, if you think about it, it'll be worse for making money, at least if you're planning on farming the same thing over and over again. However, it will be better for making money if you want to diversify your farming, and or if you want to farm the actual dungeon tokens, it would be better, because it doesn't say it'll diminish your tokens. In fact, they said that they will keep that, like you could run the same path every day, and then that return wouldn't be diminished, which I think is pretty awesome.
Those rewards are going to stay normal. At least that's what I got from that implication. Though we don't really know if this will actually make running the same dungeon unprofitable, because we don't know exactly how the rewards for the champions are going to work. If those rewards are good enough, people are still going to COF speedrun. It's just going to be for those rewards rather than just the straight up gold.
That's true.
And continuing on with a lot of those rewards, I think what's going to affect that is how the new crafting functions. Triv, what exactly are they doing with crafting? It's actually pretty crazy.
The first thing I noticed is that they actually are raising the crafting cap from 400 to 500, which means all of us who love crafting so much will have to do it more. The other thing they're doing is adding better things that you can craft, namely ascended gear. And they were sort of vague about it. They basically said you kill champions, you do things in the game, you get specific items to use to craft those ascended pieces.
Do you think it sounds similar to the current charged quartz system where you get certain things once per day?
Yes.
Well, it looks... in the other article I read, they said that ascended armor and weapons can only be made once per day, and they would be made by combining existing materials into the new ones, which would be tier 7 and 8, I guess. From completing just general content, like dungeons, jumping puzzle, world towers, champions, etc., etc. And they're even looking into giving out crafting materials for PvP. So you keep the rewards across all areas of play, which seems really odd to me because SPvP has been very, very disconnected from the rest of the game. And I personally think that it's worked.
Yeah, well, it was very disconnected in Guild Wars 1, wasn't it, as well?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the nature of it. Do you think that they do need to actually have some PvE rewards in PvP? Because how many PvPers actually ever go into PvE? They're going to look at these and be like, I don't know what this is.
I think for most serious PvPers, those items are just going to be like, oh, hey, it's going to go into my bank because I never go into PvE. As far as PvEers, it might give them some incentive to go into SPvP and just hot join or do a random tournament every now and again. And they did say that they are looking at revamping solo queue for tournaments and making that a separate bracket from team ranked.
Interesting. So you actually have some issues with the current crafting system, Evee, or at least with what they've revealed so far with the crafting system. What issues are you having? I mean, we've now got able to go up to 500. It looks like we're able to craft ascended gear and weapons. So all that sounds really good. We'll even be able to craft precursors, which I think is huge for moving away from the RNG system. Why you have some pretty strong reservations about it, though. Fill me in.
I think they're putting too much emphasis on crafting.
Really?
Yes. All of this is like, oh crafting. I don't like crafting. I want to go kill stuff.
Hey, so you can buy it off the AH then.
Yeah, you can buy it off of me, and I can make all of your gold that you earn from hard work.
That is nowhere near as satisfying as doing some guild challenges, getting some merits, or working on my laurels and buying it that way.
Interesting, because
not using my money.
It's very...
Go ahead, Trev. No, go for it.
It's very possible, if you look at how, whenever they introduced laurels, they added it so you can, for example, buy the ascended rings with the laurels. It's very possible they might do something like that with ascended gear as well, for the same reason that you just mentioned.
It's possible, but they still haven't mentioned it, which is why I'm just like, why crafting?
So the reason,
just rally the troops, call for community backlash.
The thing is that I actually saw that got me excited that they were so emphasizing crafting is one of the issues with crafting systems in MMOs that are theme park MMOs, not Sandbox, because Sandbox already operates like this, is in order to make crafting something that actually matters and to actually encourage people who enjoy being professional crafters to craft, you have to be able to have a product that is limited in scope. And so what they are doing here by creating crafting as the way to get the gear is they are going to people like me who love crafting and love posting things on the market and making a profit, who just enjoy that part of the game. they're giving us the ability to actually do that again. Whereas Guild Wars 2 up until this point has not had that unless you are able to play at the margins and are willing to make tiny profits selling obscure random things and flipping things on the market. What seems to be happening is they're moving to an almost sandbox crafting system where the entire game's end game is fed by crafters. And I think that's why you don't like it.
This is going to be my bitter comment of the day. I want to play an action RPG MMO, not an economy simulator.
No, that actually makes sense, because we've discussed this several times, where I want to see more and more sandbox elements in Guild Wars 2, because I'm a sandbox guy on some level. I really love sandboxes. I don't play them because none of my friends do. And you are not a sandbox guy at all.
Not.
Like, you hate sandboxes. Like, if someone said, go play Star Wars Galaxies, you'd be like, no, I'm out.
In fact, that has happened recently, and Triv can attest to that. Someone was like, oh, hey, they have the Star Wars Emu up. And I was just like, okay, I'll go check this out. Like, 10 minutes later, I was just like, nope.
Did you actually get that working? I haven't really invested enough time to get it up and running. I need to do that, because...
It's fun, but I'm biased. I love it.
Are you on SWG? Are you on the EMU?
I have a character. I have a few characters, actually.
Okay, talk to me, because I've always wanted to create a star. I need, at some point, man, forget this. Relics of War, done. We're creating an SGEMU show, Trev. No, I'm gonna, okay, I have the jump to light speed disc, like, sitting.
Because this has so much to do with Guild Wars.
I know, I just
Totally.
really love Star Wars. I'm looking at it right now. Anyways, at some point, we'll talk about this, Trev.
Okay.
Moving on, though. So they're basically making a far more sandboxy crafting system. You're not a fan. Do you think that most people in the community are not going to be fans of a sandbox crafting system?
There's going to be split, but I don't think we'll see any sort of backlash until it's actually implemented.
So do you suspect that they will go a different route then with that, or they will diversify it?
If anything, I don't have a problem with it existing as long as there's other avenues.
Which basically completely negates the crafting, as
Well, it
we've
doesn't
seen with
negate the
Guild Wars.
crafting, because
I guess
if
that's
someone
true.
wants to farm the crafting materials, and they can do that.
Here's the question. To make the so the reason why we have time gating in the crafting is to build up a bulk of crafting materials so that there's a lot of crafting materials to a very few amount of product hitting the market. And so what is essentially happening is it will drive the price of the crafting materials down and keep a certain value based on how many people are crafting of these things on the market itself. If it comes from alternate avenues, then that value is going to have to drop to be equivalent to the alternate avenues. And the thing is,
except alternate avenues don't necessarily have a monetary value. They can have a time one, and people that buy it are skipping that time.
okay, so they're
It's
actually
just like, say, getting a character level 80 right now. You can either buy all your exotics off the TP for
get them for
like
karma.
8 gold or whatever, or well, karma's restricted in what stats you can get.
Yeah.
Or you can run dungeons for whatever amount of time and get it that way. Or you can get World v World badges, and with a minuscule amount of gold compared to the trading post, you can get it that way.
That's a good point. So yeah, that'll be interesting to. Yeah,
It's all about options.
yeah. So hopefully we will see. I would not be surprised to see having a lot of options, but I think we will see a lot more time gating for Ascended gear than we. I mean, we kind of have time gating for Ascended gear right now, on some level.
Well, we do. We straight up do.
So
I
I
mean, just
think-
look at accessories.
I think that we will see similar time gating with the new Ascended gear, and so the
Oh,
choice will be
obviously.
if you don't want the time gating, you buy it for like 15 gold or whatever.
Mhm.
So I will be crafting like a maniac.
Well, even the crafting will be time gated, because you can only craft one ascended piece a day as a crafter.
Per account, cough.
Which means if you want money, it's probably better to sell it at first.
And not only
Yes,
that, but they
that's a good
heavily
point.
hinted that you're only going to be able to get so many materials per day as well.
That's also true. That's a good point as well. Yeah, it's gonna be. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, how it gets implemented. I think the good news is ArenaNet is relatively responsive to the community when things actually hit live and people don't like them. They may not necessarily backpedal too much, but I think that they will over time tweak it to make it more rewarding. If it's not rewarding enough.
If Ascended Gear could have changed stats, I would probably have less of a problem with it.
Really?
But as it stands right now, I can't. I can't support it. Deal with it. I just don't support it.
So here's an interesting concept then. So they're adding switching stats to the legendaries. What if instead of adding a stat boost to the new Ascended gear, they simply added the slots and the ability to switch stats to Ascended gear?
Totally okay with it. Totally okay with it. Go for it.
Triv, what do you think?
I think that Guild Wars needs more, I guess you could say, stat swapping capabilities, because that's one of the main problems that I had with it at the very beginning, that it didn't have that.
Because in Guild Wars 1, you could switch... Well, you couldn't switch your rune sets, but you go into town and you could basically completely rework your character's stats and everything.
The difference in Guild Wars 1 versus 2 is Guild Wars 1, they did have stats on your gear, namely via the runes and such, but the difference was most of your actual applicable stats to what you're doing was on your character itself. There were some on your armor, but most of it was your character, and your character is what you can change in town at will. So they basically had it down so that you could be whatever you wanted, change it at will. Obviously there were some limitations with runes, but let's face it, that's nothing compared to what we have going on in Guild Wars 2.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good
Guild
point.
Wars 1, the biggest thing with the changing your stats was the templates.
Yeah.
And templates for traits needs to be a thing. Oh my god, it needs to be a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
As does multi-specking, but that's a completely different topic.
I want to make... Well, it's only 3 silver to respec. I think they could just remove it and let us switch traits at will.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if they charged me 3 silver to do it anywhere I wanted to, for example.
Actually, yeah. That's fine. Like, you have a little... They say, oh, here's an Azura device. Like, they put it into a living story, and... Actually, they probably could put this in the living story. You go to an Azura, you buy a device for, like, a gold... And then every time you do it, you have to, like, insert, like, a charge, which is, like, 3 silver, and bam, respect.
And you can only have so many charges. There you go.
Yeah. Now, good point in chat. It did take a while for us to get respecking in Guild Wars 1. Like, initially, do you remember in Guild Wars 1 when you actually had to go out and kill stuff in order to get points to refund and then respend your attribute points, Evee? Like, for the first month or so, you had month or two, it was hilariously bad.
Funny story. I might have been a competitive player in PvP of Guild Wars 1, but I played as a fire Ellie because I liked PvE as well. And I was not going to have to swap out to air every few hours.
Yeah.
So I was a point-blank AoE fire Ellie in the Hall of Heroes.
How'd that work out? Actually, apparently those are amazing, because we had a point-blank fire Ellie on our, like, PvE group that went with Rabin and I, named Meridos, and he was our tank, and he was ridiculous.
That's what I did in Hall of Heroes.
Apparently,
and with punks, because party heal was absolutely ridiculous back then.
That's true. Fire Ellies. They were a wonderful thing, and that's why we say this is a show about Guild Wars 2, and the Guild Wars community, and random crap. Well, I think... Have we covered everything? No. Yes? No, we have not. That's right. Go.
Small little tidbit. They are replacing the orb mechanic. They didn't say how or any specific details.
I actually know.
But it's coming.
I talked to someone, and they said it's totally cool for me to reveal it. They're adding siege turtles to all of the maps, and what you're going to do is you actually have to go and find this siege turtle, capture him, escort him to your base, and then he will lob cannon fire at enemies, just wherever they are. And so you have this giant siege turtle, and it's, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Do I get to kill siege turtles again?
You
That's
would
what
have.
I was wondering.
Okay, I just so that everyone knows, I'm lying. That's not the mechanic. It'd be amazing, and I would go about freeing siege turtles wherever I could by bringing them onto my side and helping them aid me in the fight.
I would free them by putting them on their backs.
You are
I would too.
you are
And
horrible
lighting them on
people.
fire.
You
Because I can do that
guys-
now as a necro.
Oh my goodness, you guys are just dirty tree-hugging Kurziks. Straight up, table flip, bam, I'm out.
Hey, at least we won.
Stupid Kurziks. Actually, I was in a Kurzik alliance too. I was like the token Luxon. I was so sad.
Well, I got Luxon armor because I'm just a traitor like that.
The Luxon armor was pretty awesome on most of the classes, I'm not gonna lie. And my monk was...
Except for Mesmer.
I never... What did it look
But I
like?
got my Kurzik armor on.
The monk Kurzik armor was amazing. I
Yes, it
loved
was.
that.
I had it on my monk.
Yeah, it was like steampunky and awesome. I was just like, yeah, buttons across. It feels like you're sort of like, yeah, that was good stuff. I would pay for that to come back on my Ellie or my Mesmer. I would wear that. I guess it's...
Make that a thing when we go to Cantha.
There we go.
Kurzik and Luxon armor. Even though the Luxons might not exist in
Well, you know,
big form, the culture will still be there because there's
cash
a small
shop.
amount of them.
they could cash shop it. I'd buy that out of the cash shop. I mean, they already put Primeval armor, and I bought that because Primeval armor is awesome. Love Primeval. Anyways, moving on. Is that... Yeah, that's... They are doing some stuff for PvP. Or SPVP. You talked about the single person intrigue. What else are we looking at?
There's the crafting materials to come from PvP. That was another big thing. Queue for solo play, not only for hot joins in that leaderboard, which kind of sort of exists, but also for tournament play. And that's going to be a separate leaderboard than the one that currently exists.
Interesting.
Does that mean I could fear pugs less whenever I do SPVP? Because they won't kill my personal score?
Why would you want to fear a pug less? Why would you want to fear anything less in SPVP?
That's true. It's to be honest, I don't limit it to SPVP, but that's a completely different story altogether.
Fear is amazing right now. It is so OP.
I meant real life fear, not in-game fear, but
Be afraid of pugs. I thought
yes.
because as a
No,
necro,
I realize
when I
what
go
you
in
mean now.
as a necro, I go into SPVP and I'm like spectral wall, number 5 skill, number 5 staff skill, death shroud, number 3, number 5 death shroud, and then
I love how you're like a personal macro, like out loud right
it's
now.
fantastic.
You're teaching the world how to play necro. Keep
That's
going.
how I have to play Necro, because there was this horrible man with a hammer, and he was a hammer warrior, and I show up in the clock tower for like the second match I've ever played, and he destroys me. I deal no damage to him at all, and it's just like, I'm like flying all over the place. Then all of a sudden, they're using the trebuchet, and they're blowing up clock tower's roof, and I'm like flying, and I die, and he hasn't taken it. I haven't hit him once with anything. And he stands over my corpse as the timer's counting down. He's like, you suck. The next time, I fought him to a standstill with fears that I got off, because I started getting the macro. And the third time, I ate his face.
Or you can play a Mesmer and watch as the silly little Necro fears your clones.
Not if you're a good necro. I tore a bunch of Mesmer... Well, you're actually probably way better at Mesmer than I am. I get constantly confused with Vrabin. Whenever I'm running a dungeon with him, I'm like, oh, there's Vrabin. Why is he doing that's the worst positioning ever? And then all of a sudden it shatters. I'm like, oh, clone.
To be fair, he looks like a necro.
My Mesmer looks like my Mesmer looks like a Mesmer because you can see his chest.
I thought you were about to say Mecro, which is like a Metro Necro. Which is a Mesmer. Oh, a Manmer.
Manmer.
Thank
It's
you,
just
chat. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We pretty much covered all of the cool stuff that they're doing. I'm looking forward to what where they're going. Evee is actually incredibly angry and is going to quit Guild Wars 2 and come play Star Wars Galaxies with Triv and I. He's going to Rift, actually. No. So.
Will morality turn. What lesson do you have for us today?
Isn't it tell us the lesson that we should learn, Evee?
Whatever. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
Real morality, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn, Evee.
Don't start a sentence if you're not absolutely sure you're not going to forget it at the end of it.
Wait, what?
That is a valuable lesson.
Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good one. We'll see you guys in game. Bye. You can wave at them now.
Bye.
There we go. All right.
Spirit fingers.